My name is Kimberley, and this is my story. March 2020 will be a day I vividly remember. The plan was pretty straightforward, but a bit of a deviation from my usual Friday nights. Typically, I would grab a weekend bag of a few essentials and hop in my car to drive south from Vancouver to Bellingham and spend the weekend with my husband. Instead, I had plans to spend the evening with friends and drive down Saturday morning. At 4:30, my phone started to ping. Can we do 6:45 instead? Wait, I have to be done by 7:15. Well, I'm only available starting at 6:55. Well, how about I come by and wait from outside? Planning with this group got more and more complicated, and I conceded. Let's meet up another time. I thought there'll be lots of options again soon. With the US-Canada border set to close on March 20th, I naively thought that as the spouse of a US citizen, my cross-border weekends would continue as essential. So at 6:30, I resumed my usual routine, slung my small overnight bag over my shoulder, kissed my cat goodbye, and texted the neighbor to feed him in the morning. On a whim, I grabbed my work laptop, set it on the passenger seat of my car. The drive was eerily quiet. The Massey Tunnel had rarely been so smooth at that time of day, but I chalked it all up to good luck and the work-from-home order. Driving through the Nexus lane, I didn't see a single vehicle waiting in the Friday night lineups, and as I sailed down the hill from Peace Arch Park, rolled to the booth, by now the other lack of vehicles was setting off alarm bells. Something odd was in the air, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. A voice in my head muttered, well, how long can this pandemic really last? Didn't it all seem a bit dramatic? SARS and MERS, they weren't like this. My stomach started to clench as I approached the booth. By the time my car stopped in front of the customs officer, panic hit me. My palms were sweaty, and the knot in my stomach grew large enough to hit my throat. What if I was denied entry? The officer directed me to turn on my hazard lights and proceed to secondary screening, and as I stepped inside, the rubber soles of my boots squeaked against the freshly waxed floors. Each time I heard the friction of sole and ground rub together, my heart jumped. The line was short, but didn't seem to be moving. I waited my turn, and as I stood, I felt sweat slipping off my palms. I began reciting the phrases and keywords I had taught myself to avoid any hassle at the border. I'm visiting my husband. My full-time job, bank account, and family are all back in Canada. I plan to leave before my visa expires. After a brief interview and some passive-aggressive questions about why I didn't take my husband's last name, I was given a visitor visa and free to go. Outside, my breath left my body like air escaping an overinflated balloon. As I snaked my car through the barriers of the border, I noticed the quiver in my hands and sensed the pins and needles in my feet. I had just enough sensation to press the accelerator to the floor and coach my hatchback to make the speed limit on the freeway. Once I felt that familiar speed pass me by, I checked the time. It was 8:45, and the border was set to close at 9. With one hand on the steering wheel, I summoned Siri on my stereo and asked her to dial my husband. Tears began to fall from my eyes while I heard the phone ringing. Hello? He said. I made it. They barely let me in, but I made it. I could hear his shoulders relax as a sigh of relief came through the audio on my stereo. I'm coming up to Custer now, and there's no one on the road, so I should be there soon. When I pulled into the driveway and headed towards the door, the tears really started again, as the what-ifs from the previous hour had gone differently. All those images crashed in my mind. What if I had waited another morning and drove down later? What if I hadn't said the right thing during the interview? What if they had kept me another 15 minutes? I had no presence of mind to consider what would happen Monday morning when I was set to return to work, or who would continue to feed and care for my cat if I didn't return Sunday. My short supply of clothes didn't even seem to register. At that point, the most important thing was that I was there with him and that I had made it. We could figure out the rest together. In the end, I stayed on that visitor visa until August 11th, and week after week our life adjusted as I began living with him for the first time in our relationship. We learned how to give each other space and spend quality time together. Routines began to form as to who made lunch or who emptied the dishwasher and how we would spend nights at home. Returning to Vancouver in August meant another wave of newness and adjusting, as day-to-day life in downtown had changed so much from March to August, and it continues to change as the pandemic rolls on. Sometimes those adaptations are easy as the changing tide, and others feel as difficult as a rolling storm with gale force winds and none of the expertise to navigate the waters effectively. But somehow, we keep on.